On today's podcast, I had the pleasure of interviewing my business coach, Jeff Heggie, and it's an incredible conversation. I can't wait for you to listen to. But Jeff is an entrepreneur and a success coach with a passion for helping others achieve their biggest dreams. As a coach, Jeff starts with a focus on mindset. Taking his clients or their business to the next level always begins with the right mindset. He uses his extensive experience in the banking industry over 20 years as an entrepreneur, plus training experience he has gained as a coach to help his clients break through the mental and physical barriers that hold them back. He has incredible courses online. He also works with young athletes with his Confident Athletes program, and it's just a pure pleasure to have a conversation with. Today, we are going to dive into the conversation of why it's so important that everyone invests in having a business coach. Hey y'all, I'm so glad you're here. This is Ladies Kickin' Ass, a helpful and encouraging podcast for women who work in or support the home service and skilled trades industries. My name is Tanya Wilson, and I'm passionate about encouraging women to break into this industry, stand up in their roles if they're already here, tell their stories of badassery, and provide coaching, encouragement, industry secrets, and business hacks that I've personally used in my own companies to help you build and scale the service business of your dreams. But we can't talk hustle without addressing the bustle, and that means most of us are trying to do a million things at once. Like juggling being an entrepreneur, raising a family, being a partner, wife, sister, friend, soccer mom, doggy mom, and all those other titles that we love. It's all on the table here. We discuss the wins, the losses, marketing, momming, business development, relationships, and above it all, loving and believing in yourself. I'm on a mission to build a community of women that are supporting and celebrating the fact that most of us don't have our shit together, and that's okay. But together, with great support, we can do it all. Come on, let's do this. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. Okay, so today on the podcast, we have the opportunity to talk with Jeff Heggie, and he is my personal business coach. And I have been working with him. I even had to look it up because I didn't know how long it had been. I know we had been talking a lot longer than I actually started working with you on stuff. But per my records, it says September of 2020. I
Dang.
believe it's that long ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I was waiting for you to say because I didn't know.
And I know that we had talked about stuff before, and we had went, I know I invited you to a B&I meeting that I was at before, and all of that stuff had happened even before I started working with you. So I think it was even before that, really. I think it was like right after you had launched one of your first courses. Because I remember that's kind of how we got hooked up on something, is that you had sent me one of your first courses to kind of go through.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, he knows stuff, which was great. But you have been so instrumental in just, one, building my confidence as a business owner, and knowing sometimes as a business owner, you're kind of like, I'm the one that's supposed to have all the answers, but I don't. And I need to ask somebody, but I don't know who to ask. And I think that's why it's so important to have a business coach, and why I wanted to have you on today to do that. So thank you so much.
Awesome. It's my pleasure.
And so go ahead and tell everybody what you do, what you love, who do you serve, and how you might be able to help them out as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's actually really an honor. Ever since you started this, I've been really inspired by what you're doing. So it's an honor to be on here with you. I guess to go quite a ways back, when I graduated from college, it was in entrepreneurship. I knew I wanted to be my own boss, that sort of thing. But I had a real nice job opportunity at a bank, and I turned it down because I wanted to be a pro rodeo cowboy, and that's what I was doing. So I walked away from a good job because I was a cowboy, and I thought I was going to do that my entire life. But eventually I did end up going back to the banking industry. which was awesome. I loved the banking industry. It taught me so much. And one of the things I loved about it is, I went through the personal banking, got into being the commercial banker, working through agriculture, having the opportunity in leadership as a bank manager. But I spent so much of my time sitting down with entrepreneurs, and I learned so much from them. And one day I was sitting with one of my clients, and he was a builder, and he actually had a few different companies, but he was a builder, and he had a catalog on his desk for artificial stone veneer, the stone that you put on the front of houses and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I got looking through it, and my brother had put some on his house, and I knew what it was, but I didn't know a lot about it. But then I decided it was actually right there at that moment. I thought I could do that. I can make stone. Mm-hmm. And so I walked away from the banking industry and started making rocks. And you know what? It was an incredible experience. It was a way steeper learning experience than I expected. Being involved in the home industry, we had to pivot a number of times, but I ran that company from 2005 till last January. We shut it down during COVID, but it was quite the experience running that company and having to pivot and do so many things. Taught me a lot. But since that time, since I started that company, actually, I've had, I was also into real estate. I own some mini storage facilities, stuff like that. And I had a lot of opportunity to mentor people. And the more I had the opportunity to do that, the more I thought about business coaching, and I started taking courses and getting certifications and stuff like that. And one day, my CFO, one of my partners, he says, "Hey, I want you to meet somebody." And he introduced me to a business coach who had a very similar background to me. He was in the real estate industry in a manufacturing company and started coaching. And we got talking, and he knew what I wanted to do. And finally he just says, "Why aren't you doing it? You've got the background, you've got the certifications, just go out there and do it." And that's when I started doing my coaching. First thing I did is I put together a live mastermind I was going to hold here in Arizona. And I was so excited about it. I was expecting 50 people or whatever it was going to be. And it was just going to be a home run. But the 4 people that came, it was awesome.
I think everyone that has done any form of coaching whatsoever has the I know my shit. And then they set up this grand thing, and 3 people show up. It always makes me I love to hear that you had that too, because every time Tony Robbins talks about that, I rented a hotel and then 7 people showed up, and you're like, ah.
Well, and I ended up getting these people by saying, "I won't charge you anything either."
Yeah. They stayed because of that.
Yeah. But it was actually, besides being a semi-flop, it was good. They got a lot out of it. It was a good experience for me. And I started getting more and more into the coaching side. So now today, I wear a number of hats. Coaching is the main thing I'm doing. I'm also in Arizona here. I'm a mortgage lender, but the coaching is really what I love. I love the one-on-one coaching. I love the courses that I've created. I've started doing group coaching, which has really been rewarding for me and really cool, just how that's come together. And then because I've been a basketball coach for 20 years, I've been involved in sports all my life. During the pandemic, one of my clients had talked to me about speaking to her son about his mental state, his mental game, because he wanted to play college football. Then his season got postponed, everything got canceled, all that, and he lost all motivation. Didn't even really care about it anymore. And so I spent some time with him, and looking at him, looking at my basketball players, it was happening all over the place. Mm-hmm. And so I created a program called The Confident Athlete and started working with athletes and just kind of working on their mindset and the mental game and really developing things that a lot of the stuff I took from one of my entrepreneurial courses and put in this, because whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's athletics, these are life lessons. Mm-hmm. Everything in this course for the athletes are things that go way beyond athletics. We're focused on athletics, and that's what they're focused on, but they're things that are going to help them throughout their life. And so that one's really a rewarding thing too. But yeah, I love working with entrepreneurs, learning about your businesses, stuff like that is really what I love.
Yeah, it is fun. And even throughout the coaching stuff, even the people that I've worked with too, it's only as a coach, you even learn things from going into different industries and learning about different things, like I'm sure like you working with me, even like you've probably learned more about the septic industry than
Oh
you
yeah,
probably ever knew beforehand.
absolutely.
I know I've worked with a restoration contractor too, and I'm like, this is a very tedious game that these guys play. You can see how some of them are in and out in a matter of time, because if you're not real smart with your business practice in that, working with those large insurance companies, they'll eat you alive.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to learn the different facets of people's different industries.
It is. One time is probably is about 2009. Everything had crashed in our industry. I had to pivot. I didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know what direction I was going to take the business, and I was really spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. At that time, I didn't have my own coach, but I was talking to my partners. I was talking with employees. I was talking with whoever I could about what are the different options we can look at. I sat down. I was in Hawaii at a business conference, sitting down at the table, and the lady sitting with me owned a scrapbooking company. And I'm like, well, this is going to be useless. Like, I can't network with a scrapbooker. She's not going to help me any. I'm not going to help her any. But hopefully she's a nice lady.
Yeah.
But you know what? We got talking, and she got telling me how she had taken her scrapbooking company, pivoted, started doing more retail, all these different things. And as we talked, I'm like, I have to do exactly what she did. And so, yeah, it is. It's people in different industries have different perspective on things. And, that's really one of the values of coaching is I get to work with clients that, no, I haven't been in their industry, but I've worked with you. I know more about your industry. I've worked with other people, know about their industry. I've had my own businesses. I've got so many different things I can share with them that I might not give them the answer, but I might spark something that enables them to come up with the answer.
Oh, for sure. I can't tell you how many times we've had conference. Just the last one that we had, I was like, oh, well, thank you for being my therapist, because I just needed to talk that through, and it makes so much more sense. Because I think as entrepreneurs, especially if we're in this industry and we don't talk to a lot of people and we try to carry things by ourselves, we go through crap in our head all the time and we don't really talk it out loud. Sometimes when you just say it out loud, you're like, either that's brilliant or that's really stupid, or even that what you were thinking actually does make some sense. So I am so thankful for that. So that is something that is so fantastic too. I have a couple of things here that I do want to talk to you about. I was just so pumped about this conversation. I was thinking about it all weekend because Jeff and I could seriously sit here and talk forever. But some things that just to kind of keep us on track with some stuff about business coaching, like what do you think are some of the common myths around your industry? I know I get pushback sometimes when I talk about coaching or me helping people do their stuff too. What I've done in the past has been a lot of mentoring that led to, some coaching opportunities at this point. I think every coach kind of starts out that way. But a lot of times people are like, it's too expensive. It's an expense for my business that I just can't take right now. But it's like, are you willing to take the risk of having this investment for yourself, for your business? Yes, it's an expense, but everybody's all about it's a tax write-off. If it's an expense for your business, it's legit. It's a tax write-off. I hate that word so bad. I'm like, yeah, it's still coming out of your pocket, but view it as like how a lot of times people think that's just an expense I should cut real quick. Kind of like the fallacy of like, when I'm short on money, I should cut marketing.
Right, exactly.
Bad idea. You should never, one of the biggest things as an entrepreneur is making sure you have accountability and that you're continuing to grow so you can continue to grow your business. So what has kind of been some of the myths or pushbacks you've gotten from people?
That's the number one is people looking at it as an expense. Like, I don't need it, so why would I spend the money on it? And I think a lot of people don't realize how much they need it until they've had it.
Sure.
And, if they look at it, the people that look at it as an investment because they know they're going to grow from it and their businesses in turn are going to grow from it are really the ones that can really get the most out of it, because they're looking more at what are the results going to bring more than, oh, when's that next payment coming out? Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And, one of the things I look at a lot is athletics. LeBron James has a coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. Tiger Woods had a coach. There's reasons for that. Mm-hmm. The best in the world have coaches. And, you look at all top CEOs, all top business people, they work with people. They work with coaches because they bring out the most in them. And I think one of the things you said is probably one of the biggest keys of coaching is the accountability. Mm-hmm. And that's, one of the things I tell people all the time, it's whether it's a coach or a mentor, you need somebody, and it's got to be somebody that's not a close friend or a relative that will hold you accountable, that you can't just say, oh yeah, I didn't do that this week because this, and they're like, oh yeah, I understand. Yeah, you were busy. Couldn't get it done. You've got to be held accountable, because that's really what it comes down to is people don't achieve goals because something gets in the way. But mm-hmm. when it's something that no matter what, you've got to do that, when you're accountable that I've got to do this regardless, mm-hmm. it's so much easier to move mountains. And, it might be a big goal, but if you do the actions that you need to, you can do it.
Sure. I mean,
we look at how many things, just looking around this office, how many things when 20, 30 years ago wouldn't be possible. That if someone said, oh, you're going to have an iPhone and this is what it's going to do, it would have been like, okay, and I'm going to fly in a car like the Jetsons.
Yeah. Right? That was supposed to be happening by now.
Yeah, that is true. But, it's that mindset and those mental barriers that we've got to get through. And sure. Without someone to hold us accountable and do the things needed to cross that barrier, we're not going to do it.
Sure. I think too, with business coaching, you have to be willing to personally grow in order for this to ever impact you professionally. Because when you are working with a business coach, you got to get real with yourself. Like, you just can't keep making up crap and telling the stories to your husband if he's your accountability partner, and being like, oh, well, I didn't because, okay. Not that your husband doesn't care if you get your goals, but you're literally paying this coach to make you be accountable.
Right.
And you're in a position, like, thank goodness that you're at the top of the top. So you don't have to answer to anybody if you're an entrepreneur, you own your own company, which is what everybody dreams of having. But then the accountability, I know for me, like at the end of the week, sometimes I'm like, before we really started implementing that Monday, like Monday morning, I send Jeff my goals. Friday, he checks in with me on those. Before we implement those, or when I don't follow through with those, because I have been famous for that before too, I have to be fully transparent here. It makes a massive difference if I don't set those intentions with you on Monday. Even though I've set them with myself, I make excuses for things that I don't get them done in time. Oh, well, my babies were sick, or, kids have been out of school, or things like that. Don't make the goal so big too that you can't achieve them. That's something that you've been good at helping me break some stuff down with that. Yeah. But just making sure that you're holding yourself accountable to stuff, because when you make promises to yourself and you don't follow through with them, it's like a major confidence killer, You keep making these 3 big ass goals every Monday, and then Friday comes and you're like, crap, I didn't even start these things, Right.
Well, and it's much easier to stay on task and stay focused when you've got those goals and you know you've got to be accountable to them. How I have so many people that I work with that they get busy and they're not being productive. They get through the end of the day and I've been so busy today. I put in 12 hours today. Well, what'd you get done? Well, I didn't get everything done.
Yeah.
And it's because you're not being efficient. You're just being busy. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of businesses. You've got to spend time doing social media stuff. So they did their social media stuff, and all of a sudden an hour later, they're still scrolling.
Yeah.
So when you've got goals that you're accountable to at the end of the week, it's a lot easier to say, okay, I've done that. Here's my next task. And having the routines and the schedules in place that you're going to stick to because you know you've got to accomplish them.
Mm-hmm. I preach like a crazy lady about having a calendar and sticking to what's in your calendar, whether that's personal stuff or business stuff. For me, when I send my goals to you on Monday morning, I have been going in and time blocking time for those. And not an hour, like 3 hours at a time, depending upon what goals those are. Because even if I get that achieved during that amount of time there, it gives me a little wiggle room if some of those other ones are a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So I make sure that they're on my schedule and that they're done before Friday instead of being like, oh, I'll just knock them all out on Friday afternoon, because everybody knows how that never works out either.
Well, and that helps you from those distractions as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got this time block that you're working on this specific project. Well, if you're doing that, you're not answering emails, you're not on social media, you're not doing all the other things. You got to stay focused.
Yes. Productivity hack number 1, shut off your email alerts on your computer and your phone. When I tell people that I do that, I was just at a networking meeting and I told them, they're like, oh, I just can't get through my emails. They're just going off all day long. I'm like, because you've trained people that that's an instant messaging machine for you.
Yeah.
Answer them in the morning and then answer them in the evening or right before you leave. Like, have a shutdown and a startup process. I learned that from a podcast with Amy Porterfield. She talks about like her startup and her shutdown. And that is the time that she gives 30 minutes to emails. If it's more than 30 minutes, it has to wait till the next time that you go and sit down and do that stuff. Because we could literally sit and just check emails all day long. It's crazy. And we actually, Sophie and I were talking about this because she's so good about so quick on the emails. And I'm like, we got to time block this stuff. And so when she time blocks those things in there, we were doing some research on that. They say that if you get distracted by one email, even checking it, not even responding to it, will throw you off for an average of 12 minutes.
Yep.
So think about that with every email that comes in.
So every time you're in the middle of a project, you answer an email and it's going to take you 12 minutes to get back focused on that project. You've wasted so much time.
There's your day that you didn't get anything done. So another thing I want to talk about too, why do you feel it's important that people make an investment in themselves with a coach to grow their business? You know, people will think, well, I already know how to do stuff. I already know how to do the thing. We see so many people in this home service or skilled trade industry type stuff that people are like, we've done it this way forever, so we're good, you know? What would you say to somebody that's like, I don't know how to legitimize this if, say, they have a spouse that isn't really into this stuff and they work a business together? I know that I see a lot of resistance too. How would you meet that with that person?
I guess one of the first things when it comes to coaching, do I think everyone needs it? Yes. But the most important part for it to be successful is you've got to want it. Mm-hmm. And to want it, you've got to understand what it'll do for you. And you've got to understand that you don't know what you don't know. You know, you might be doing things great. Your business is running great, but there's always something else. And by bringing in an outside person that, even if you're efficient, you're productive, that is going to hold you accountable, that can be a sounding board. Because there are times that you've got to have someone that you can talk through things with. And someone within your company isn't the best person. Mm-hmm. And neither is your spouse. Mm-hmm. And you've just got to have that person that you can say, hey, here's what I need. And there's been times you and I have talked that it was a one-sided conversation and you answered your own question.
Yeah.
But it was having me there to yes, no, throw in a few tidbits or whatever. And you've just got to have that sounding board. And so it's got to be, and something you said a while ago too, and this is the funny thing, is I have so many business clients that hire me because they want to grow their business. They want to bring me in. Let's get into the books. The most growth I've seen are when I'm working with someone, and mostly what we work on is them. Because when you work on yourself, when you bring in that self-improvement, then the business part follows. You're
Yes.
more efficient in the business. You're more clear on the decisions you're making. And, I don't have to be an expert in your businesses to help you improve your business that way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest myths of stuff. Like, well, Jeff doesn't have a septic business. Why would I hire him to do that? What does he know about a ladies community group?
Right.
Things like that. Just so crazy, because when you're working with people and you're drawing in from all different industries, I say that all the time on here. Yeah, I make a lot of septic and junk references to things, but it's literally service. That's what we're giving. And
Right.
Same thing with the coaching stuff. It's like service that you're giving to someone. It doesn't have to be, you tailor make it to whatever you need to for your specific industry, but it's all the same really at the end of the day.
It is. And, I look at people that I am coaching or I have coaching, and it's such a wide variety, but it comes down to all the same principles. Like, okay, septic business, junk business, leather business, a campground, a treehouse campground, marketing business. I work with such a wide variety, but it's all the same basics.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to that.
I think if you're wanting to grow too, and you make that initial investment with a coach, and it's somebody that you can see, eye to eye with, and that you have good conversations with, you just make your team so much better. Like, I run my businesses like our team, everything revolves around the team. Everything. Is it good for the team? Not is it good for this person, or is it good for me? Is it good for the team? And the more I invest in myself, the more I'm investing in my team.
Right.
Because I am the leader of this business. And if I'm stuck, they're going to be stuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's every quarter we sit down, my septic business does, and we have a 4-hour meeting on Saturdays. We do it on Saturdays because I don't want them to be distracted and like, crap, I got to go to these jobs or anything like that, or the phone's not ringing because we're closed on Saturday. So we just had one this past Saturday, and on quarter one, we always sit down and we make 4 professional goals and 4 personal goals. And I make everybody write them down on Post-it notes, and we hang them up on this big board. And it's so fascinating, the ones that are newer to our company, the way that they write goals. And then this was the second year of doing this. The 2 that have been here and have already went through that process, to see the development in their goals.
Really?
I was like, when we went home, I just lost it. I'm like, it's working. Because we talk so much about goal setting with stuff here, that Sophie and Dustin, having been here long enough, were like, I want to get better this year at whatever, like eating better. I'm like, that's not measurable. Try again,
Yeah.
You can tell with the 2 newer ones too. It was like, we saw more of those kinds of goals, more of the blank type of goals, which we continue to keep prompting them. And it was even cool to see Sophie and Dustin, and even my husband Jake was there too, like him asking questions. Well, when are you going to do that by? Well, how are you going to do that? Everybody around the table was finally starting to understand what this exercise meant to them, because it was so cool. Because before that, at every quarter meeting that we have, we check back in with this to see where we're at. And once a month on our weekly meetings, we'll also check in and be like, have you knocked any of these off? But we took off so many of those that everybody had accomplished last year. That was so cool. And that momentum of just seeing them get moving with stuff created the momentum for them they set some stellar goals this year. They're going to be, I got to step up my game so I can help them get some of this stuff. But it's so cool to watch that happen.
Yeah.
And watch them achieve things. So even if you're doubting it for yourself and investing in a coach, think about what it can do for your team.
Exactly. Because just like you've done with your team, everyone has goals, whether they write them down or not. Everyone's got goals, and it's very easy to say, oh, here's my goal. And okay, yeah, I've got my goals set, but is it someone like Jake saying, okay, when are you going to do that by?
Yeah.
Or, that's not a very good goal. You can have that done tomorrow. Let's go deeper.
It's very interesting. I remember when I first started working with you, and we did that, 7 levels deep of stuff. Oh my gosh. when you really start digging into stuff, the reason why you do stuff, really, you tell yourself a big fat lie on the surface for a lot of those things. Whether it's that you don't want to experience or go to those places because it's a painful thing that you have to think about or something that you're trying to escape from. But many of us do those things for a much deeper reason than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
But that was that was excellent for me.
I was doing a training in Nashville a couple months ago, and I went through, I was doing a goal setting training, and I went through the 7 levels deep process with one of the leaders of the group. And I didn't intend this, of course, but I mean, it takes it to such another level to figure out your purpose behind those goals that she was bawling. You know, she had all these big dreams and big goals that she wanted to accomplish, and she thought she knew why. And when we got down to it, and it really was an emotional experience for her. And the cool thing was that was with a group of about 25 people. And 2 weeks later, I did a training with the same company, but with about 100 people. And there was 9 of them from that first training that talked about their experience at the beginning of it. And again, there was tears and it was just, this is an emotional event because they're saying, you know, I thought I had all these goals, and then we started looking at it and it was life-changing for them.
Yeah. I don't know who said that, but I remember watching one of many things that I've watched, and somebody said like that they were talking about what's your why behind this stuff, but somebody had said, if your why doesn't make you cry, go back and start again. And I was like, ooh, that's a good one, because it's so true, because a lot of times we don't want to experience what is causing those tears, whether it's happiness or sadness or fear or whatever it is. So that one has always stuck with me. So that 7 levels deep is super awesome. Okay. So, I mean, that's when you find something that there's such a powerful reasoning behind it that there's just like, burn the boats. There's no way in hell that you're ever going to stop doing this because you must achieve this goal. Then you got a good reason.
And that's the reason that I think it's so important to go through a process like that, because it doesn't matter how motivating your goals are. There's days you don't want to do it. There's days you don't want to get out of bed. But when you really can dig deep and find a deeper why than I want to be successful, and really understand the purpose and why behind your goal, that's the one that's saying, you know what, I don't want to do it today, but here's why I'm going to.
Yep. Because there's a lot of times, a lot of us are like that. Especially in the service industry, you know, you hear people talk about like, I don't complain about this stuff. I have an incredible team, and I think it takes time to be able to build that. But people will talk about, I don't want to have to deal with my employees, or I don't have to deal with this or this. You know, some of those things can be very painful and emotional things that you have to go through, but you still got to do them for the better of everybody else that's in that business.
Well, and as a leader of a business, you're going to have times that things are not going well, that you've got to deal with crap that you don't want to deal with. And after you deal with that, sometimes, you need to sit back and catch a breath, but it doesn't mean you can just press pause forever. You've got to still go.
Well, those hard things like that is the growth opportunity, I think.
Yeah.
Even watching people, when you start developing a team, I know when my office manager had to fire her first person.
We talked about this.
This is a first manager situation. I was so proud of her. I was in tears by the time that was over. And she was in the office hyperventilating because she had just finally done it. We had so many conversations about it before she actually just did it. She was so nervous and so scared. This is really her first management position. And how cool to see that occur, and the confidence that she found from that after she stopped trembling from doing it was so cool. And you can see it even just to this day today, still, like her and that how much confidence it gave her to get through that tough thing that she didn't think she could do.
That's why, you and I have talked about my mindset questions, that I've got a list of mindset questions that I have people go through every morning. And one of them is, I think the two most important questions on that whole list are, one, what are you grateful for today?
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do today to step out of your comfort zone? Because every time you step out of your comfort zone, the next time you do that thing, it's easier. The next time it's easier. And so if you're stepping out of your comfort zone every day, your confidence level is getting bigger and bigger every day.
Sure.
So, I mean, hopefully stepping out of your comfort zone isn't firing someone every day, but for, like her example, going through that experience,
sure,
the next time she has to do it, doesn't mean it's comfortable, but it's still easier.
Sure. Absolutely. And it can be the smallest, littlest things. Even it's like trying new foods. My husband always gets on my butt for that. He's like, you're so bland. It's just like, you're such a meat and potatoes girl. I'm like, well, that's, a lot of us get stuck in our ways, you know, and he wants to go eat sushi. And I'm like, fish should be fried or something, I'm like, that's disgusting. But, you got to step out of that stuff. I did go eat sushi with him once. There are a lot of online programs and like personal and professional development things. And I talk about them all the time on this because I have a slight obsession with things like that. Once you get you just get moving and that momentum catches hold, and then you're like, well, I did that. So can I do this? If you have that, I think growing up, like a product of a child athlete too, that competition is just like embedded in who you are, but it's a really cool thing when you can start competing with yourself instead of competing with everybody else that's around you. And I think that's a maturity level that you get into by investing in professional development things.
Right.
And I think it's a really cool thing to do, because the only way you're going to lose is if you get, stop moving yourself.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's important to work with a coach like you and I work together, or even like in our group setting, like the mastermind calls and things like that, versus just taking in like podcasts or watching people on YouTube?
I mean, I'm a big believer in that stuff too. So I think you need to be doing that as well. But I think the difference is, for example, I've got some online courses that I've had people go through and get amazing results. Mm-hmm. But unless they keep looking at, okay, what did I learn? How do I take that to the next level? They take it one step and then that's where they are. With a coach, you're going to continually be pushed. You're going to continually be accountable. You're going to continually have someone that is there to help you with decisions, there to be a sounding board, but there to give you ideas, but also to make sure that you're not stagnating, that you're not, I shouldn't use the word relaxed, but that you're still after those goals. Because, I'll give you an example. And this is actually something I was going to talk to you about, because it's something I'm doing with my coach right now. We, for February, said, okay, let's figure out the big goal we want to hit by the end of the month. And our accountability is at another level this month. I had to put my goal together, put the plan together on how I achieve it, what I have to do on a monthly, weekly, daily basis. And every morning we have a 1-minute phone call. Me getting on saying, this is what I'm going to do today. Yesterday I said I was going to do this. I did it, or I didn't do it. And this is what I've got to do. And I mean, it's taken the accountability to another level. And even, looking at that, when I was like, okay, if I say I want to be big and bold, but it's more important, I've got to achieve these things, because we've also got some accountability to it. If I don't achieve the goal, there's some, reward penalty system. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Well, maybe I should do it a little less just so I can make sure to get it. Well, no, I want to achieve that. So let's go big.
Sure.
And let's make it happen. And so every single day, I know at 7 a.m., I'm talking with him saying, yesterday I said I was going to do this. And yes, I did it. Because I'm not going to say, no, I didn't do those things.
Yeah.
And when you can take that accountability, when you put a plan together and then hold yourself accountable to more than yourself, you're going to achieve what you're set out to do.
Yeah.
You're setting things in motion.
And you're giving yourself a time frame too.
Yeah.
So many of us, like, we set a goal on Monday and we're like, just like I said earlier, we have till Friday, and then we're like, Friday morning, we're like, oh shit, we got to get all these goals done that we set for the day. Let's keep Friday open for all of the stuff you've got to catch up on. It's like, if I have 2 hours to clean the house, or if I have all day Sunday and then I'll do my other stuff afterwards. No, I have 2 hours.
Yeah.
You haul butt and you get it done in the 2 hours. It takes as much time as you'll allow it to take. So having that defined amount of time of 24 hours not only makes you make it more of a bite-sized goal that you can accomplish, because you don't want to say that you didn't.
Yeah.
But it helps lead you to that bigger goal. That's really cool about breaking it down even into that.
And then, when you look at productivity like that, like, you can be more focused, more productive. And one thing I've shared with people at different times about being productive, because people say, well, yeah, but I've got so many things, I can't get them all done. Think of the last time you went on vacation. How productive were you those 2 days before you went on vacation?
Extremely.
You got more done those 2 days than you did 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
And it's because you're going to be gone. You've got certain things that you have to get done before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
If you can hit every day with that day before vacation mode, you're going to be way more productive.
Yes. And how much, like, I listen to Amy Porterfield's stuff all the time. I love her podcast. It's got so many cool little, like, just marketing hacks and things like that in it. But she was talking about how they have adopted a 4-day work week. And even when people talk about, like, how could you do that? How could you get all this stuff done? Or how are you only working 4 hours? It must be nice if you only work 4 hours a day. Most people can accomplish what they need to for their jobs really in like 4 hours a day. If you sit down and you just get your stuff done. But so many of us are like, well, go see what this guy in this office is doing and make a phone call and scroll through social media. You only did 4 hours of work anyways.
Yeah. Busy or productive.
Yes. Lots of people are very busy. It's my goal this year. Be more productive. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you too is, if you were giving advice to someone to look for a business coach, what would you tell them to look for when they're searching for that?
One thing I'd do is I would try to get referrals, because, if someone's talking to me about my services and they want to talk to someone, you're probably the first one I would say, well, go talk to her. Mm-hmm. And, if you can be honest with them and say, yeah, he's good in this area or whatever, or you know what, no, you might have a better option, then that's going to be the best way. Talk to someone that works with the person if you can. But I think the experience of the coaching experience is huge, just because they have so many different situations they work through. But also, what kind of other experience do they have? There's so many times I'll be working with a client and something will happen and I'll be like, well, that reminds me, when I worked at the bank, this was the situation. Or when I owned my storage facilities, this. Or, I've got a really cool client right now. He owns a company called Texas Saddlery. Completely different than manufactured stone, but manufacturing is manufacturing. There's a lot of things that are similar. And so he'll be talking about something. I'll be like, well, very different. But one time when I was importing stuff from Vietnam, we did this. And there's that background and experience that a coach can have, I think is invaluable. And so really it doesn't have to be, I owned a septic company.
Sure.
But it does have to be that I've got some background somewhere. And, even in the banking industry, that gave me banking experience. But I had so many clients that, one owned a shoe company, one owned hotels, one owned building company. There's so much you can learn from so many people. So I think it's important to find a coach that has a solid background in different things. And, another part is they're personal, that you can get along with them. That you can, I really think before you hire a coach, get on a strategy session with them. Go through an hour, 2 hours with them, whatever it's going to be, that you're going to feel comfortable.
Yep.
Because there are people that you get on a call with and it's like, yeah, I couldn't sit on a call with this guy for an hour.
No. I can't remember if I read it or if somebody had said something to me, because I just went through a partnership split too. And I've had a few of those since we've been working together. No more partners. Yay. No, but even through those, it's like, this was an association with a business partner, but same thing goes with a coach. If you see this person's email, or if you see this person calling you or texting you, do you want to get that right away? Like, are you excited to talk to that person, or you are intrigued about what they have to say? Or is it somebody that you're avoiding? That personality thing is so important. I know for me that was a big reason why I was working with you. It's just in just normal conversations about goals that we have with our families and things that we've, you having been in the service industry was very good. Just the way that you talked through the course that I demoed beforehand. I was like, we have a great personality meshing, if you will,
Right.
If you could sit and have those conversations, and it can be something as silly as like you're on that 2-hour strategy call and the person that you're working with has like this laugh that drives you crazy. We've had an employee like that before, so that's the only thing I could think of. But no, it's like the littlest things like that you may pay, $1,000 to work with this person and then be like, oh my God, I can't concentrate on anything but this laugh that's going on in my head, It's something that's that simple that you want to make sure that you pay attention to.
Yeah. I was on a call last Thursday, that I was with a group, and we were putting together a group coaching session, and these people were deciding if they were going to be a part of it or not. And so one of the things I did, I wanted them to know me, because these people are all over the country, Canada, all over the place. And I wanted them to understand that if they're going to work with me, they've got to know where I'm going to come from. So I made sure, they knew all about my family. Family's important to me. So they've got to know that part's important to me. And you know what? I'm going to talk about them. You're going to hear about my adoption from Africa. You're going to hear about my daughter's having a baby, all those things. And so I talked about my family. I talked about being a cowboy and rodeoing. I talked about being a basketball coach, because if I'm sitting there talking and I start sharing a story, trying to show a point, and it's about something that my kid did, and they're like, I don't care about your family. Don't tell me about that. Let's get to the solution.
Yeah.
Then it's not going to work out. So that was one of the things I did, is I made sure they knew as much about me as was possible.
Sure. I think that's so important. I know even during this podcast, I'm like, Sophie and Dustin.
Yeah.
But I talk about them so much through the podcast. If there are people that are listening to this, they've heard me talk about them so much. Or if I say Jake, people know at this point, if you're a listener to this podcast, Jake is my husband. Like sometimes it gets monotonous to go back through that stuff. So even the people that I work with, and, even working with you, we know each other's, families and the names and things like that, because we talk about them so much.
Yeah.
If they're a big part of that, if somebody is like single and all they want is to get to the top of this thing and they're not interested in family or how your weekend was or anything else, I'm probably not going to be a great fit for you, because we won't have that real common goal, which is to build something to not only contribute back with service, but to help enrich our families too.
Well, this is actually a cool story. Someone I work with that we've been working together for a while, and we focus on him, his business. Excuse me. He sends me a message a few weeks ago, and he said, hey, I've got something I need to talk to you, and I hope it's okay. Can you let me know when we can talk? And so we arranged it. And he's like, sorry, I don't know if I should ask you this, but I just need your experience. And he's a successful entrepreneur. He's young. And it was like, okay, I don't know if my girlfriend is really going to support my entrepreneurship, what I'm doing. What was your experience with your spouse when you were leaving the bank? See, and all my clients know my background, that I was a cowboy, that I was at the bank. I left the bank, started a manufacturing company. And so he was in a position, he felt comfortable saying, let's talk relationships. I need to know what to expect. What should I be expecting? And I was like, well, okay, if I say anything and it makes you think break up, this is not my responsibility. I'm not a marriage counselor, but
disclaimer.
But here's my experience. And so I shared my experiences of when I decided to leave the bank. I shared my experiences of when my business failed, and what were my relationships experiences through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was glad that he was willing to ask me those things.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I know I've asked you questions about that, even like spouses working together type of thing.
Right.
That's a tough line. Like when Jake came into this business and started working here too, obviously I talked about it at home all of the time, but I had previously worked with my kid's dad, and that did not go so well. That turned into a real bummer situation there. So I had been a little kind of tender-footed of going into this anyways, and even if it's a thing of what might be the best way for me to communicate this stuff.
Yeah.
It's incredible to be able to have that kind of relationship with somebody that you can do that. It's not that I'm telling you what to do, just like our last conversation we had about trying to find the right fit for employees that can work with him on the installs. Just talking out loud, I realized I'm trying to hire his position that he loves to do. So of course, he doesn't want me to hire anybody because he wants to do that, And sometimes when we're working with our spouses and things like that, we tend to, because we know them so well, we jump to kind of like, why are you resisting this thing versus, them being able to communicate to you why things aren't working the way that you may both want them to be. So,
well, from the coaching perspective, I've shared that story. Mm-hmm. I was talking with someone last week and said, well, I have another client that we got talking about a position they're trying to fill. And just by having that conversation, she came up with her own answer. Mm-hmm. But it was just kind of an epiphany, being able to see it from a different perspective.
Sure.
And so, that's the other part is, I don't tell them who you are, but I'll say this lady I work with mm-hmm. and, share what we talk about.
Yep. I don't think you even really said anything. I think I just finally said, oh my gosh.
I think that's right.
It all makes sense now as I'm writing it down. It's just like telepathic thing. Just put it right in my brain. Oh my gosh. It was so awesome. This has been so great. Thank you so much. Where do you want everybody to find you, or do you have new stuff going on, or what's the best way to contact you? I have a million links for you and I will post them on the show notes.
Okay.
But what is your favorite place for people to connect with you on?
Social media, Instagram is where I'm most active. Mm-hmm. And it's Jeff Heggie Coaching. Probably my newest thing that I'm excited about right now. One, the things I'm doing with the group coaching, and a lot of that has come about from people talking about, we're February and I've already given up on my goals, or, I had big goals, I'm not achieving them, and I'm just going to settle. I'm okay with where I'm at, and I'm not going to push. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of my group coaching has come together. And I've been doing some free training on there, and some of those have moved into group coaching or personal coaching. But the personal coaching program that I'm kind of pushing right now, just because it's one that I'm putting a lot of effort into and I'm seeing really cool results. It's at jeffheggie.com/bestyearever. And it's just a package I've got. And also, I'd love you to check out my podcast. I've got 3 podcasts. You can get that at jeffheggie.com/podcasts. That has the links to it. And and all the social media, I'm everywhere, but
he is everywhere. But his social media is so good because it's so motivational. I love those in the morning. The daily success strategies. Is that correct? Did I say it right? I always tongue twist that. It's like a 3 to 7 minute podcast in the morning. It is my staple commuter to work.
Have you seen the new one I'm adding in there once a week?
No.
Jamari's daily success strategies.
Oh, yay!
Have you seen those?
No.
He's done 2 of them. They're great. So my 10-year-old, I sit down with him.
So awesome.
He did one on what's a good life, and The second one he did was stop talking about it and doing it. And it's really funny hearing it from a 10-year-old.
Oh, you know what? More of us need to listen to our 10-year-olds, probably. That's so awesome. I'm catching up from stuff from like the end of November to December. So, yes, because sometimes I catch more of them than just one by the time I get to where I'm going. So I'm like, I got to back up here. That's so cool.
One other thing just to add in there, just because I do know as much as you encourage people to work with coaches and mentors and stuff, a lot of people just aren't going to do it. One thing that I truly believe, no matter what you're doing, you need to have clearly defined, written out goals. And, even going through the 7 levels deep process that we talked about, you can get a free program at jeffheggie.com/goals. And that takes you through a complete program on the proper way to set goals, go through the 7 levels deep, and really figure out where you're going.
That is incredible. And it's very good. So try it. Test it out. So one last thing in closing, Ladies Kicking Ass is all about building a community of like-minded women that are trying to kick ass at home and they're trying to kick ass at work. And a lot of times they're just juggling all this stuff. We don't use the word balancing on this podcast. It's like a cuss word. Not that we're opposed to those, but because it's impossible to reach this perfect balancing act of things. So I know that we've talked about this before too, but what does community mean to you?
It's everything. Whatever you're doing, it involves people. And whether you're a business looking for customers or whether you're partners or employees, or whatever you're doing, you've got to have that community of people that can help you grow, help you advance, help you be successful. And you've got to have people, I don't know what to do. She's got soccer at 6. I've got a mastermind at 6. I've got to take care of the business stuff. You've got to have the coach, the people, whoever, to talk through these things and know that you got support. And that's some of the cool. In fact, this morning, I sent out a text to a couple people just because something happened on the weekend with some clients, and these other 2 people that I coach with know a little bit about the situation. And I was like, I just want to share my win and text them and say, hey, guess what I did? This happened with these clients, and I just wanted to share it. And so to have those people in your corner, they're cheering you on. They're not the ones saying, all right, go. And in the back of their minds thinking, I hope she falls on her face.
Yeah. Oh, there's enough of those catty things out there.
So yeah, I think community is everything. Surround yourself with people that are big dreamers, that are going to encourage you rather than hold you back. And you can do amazing things.
Sure. A good community too, there's room for everybody at the table because everybody brings something a little bit different perspective wise. Every time I go to a networking group and people say, oh, we only accept 2 per industry. I'm like, well, what if both of them suck? Like, may the best woman or man win at earning this type of thing, because why not just let everybody come in? To me, that's like forced stuff. And when you build your own community, it's the people that you want to be around and that you mesh with personally and professionally, and so helpful.
And you know what? Successful people want to help people be successful.
So true.
So those are the ones you want to be around.
Yes, that's a good way to build the community. Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been awesome.
Awesome. So everything that Jeff talked about will be in the show notes. All of his links to everything. If you guys need any kind of testament past this podcast of what we've talked about how he can help you, I'm your girl. So just send me a message. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Ladies Kickin' Ass podcast. I would love to invite you to become part of our exclusive community on Facebook groups. There is so much value there in inspiring you to chase your goals and coaching you on how to get there. Plus, you get the support of other women from across the world who have also joined. You can also find us all over social media and at our website, ladieskickinass.com. All social media platform links are in the show notes below, so we've made it nice and easy for you. Be sure to join so you are the first to hear about exciting programs and announcements that we have coming up. And ladies, there's some good stuff. And never miss a notification for an exciting new podcast episode release. If you yourself are a lady that is kicking some serious ass and you have an awesome story that you would love to share with our audience about running your business while raising your family and becoming the woman of your dreams, I want to talk to you. Check out our website at ladieskickingass.com/podcast, where you can apply to be a guest on our show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Tell me what you think of it with a rating and share this episode with anyone you think it may inspire or help. Have a great week, and I'll see you back here next Friday. Bye for now.